As of now, we have done a major section of law of torts, but still we are left with two major principles in law of torts. These are strict and absolute liability. In torts, we have study about the fault liability, but these two principles are exception to that. The strict and absolute liability talks about no fault liability principles of an individual, and in case of absolute liability, it talks about no fault liability of an enterprise. Introduction to strict liability. The principle of strict liability has been derived from the case of Rowlands versus Fletcher. In this case, the defendant constructed a water reservoir on his land by an independent contractor. The independent contractor did not block the shaft which were present under the land. When the water was filled in the reservoir, water entered the plaintiff's coal mine, which was in the adjacent land of the defendant. The defendant tried to take the defense that he was unaware about the mine shafts, so it was not his negligence. The court held in this case that even if the defendant was not known to the shafts, but he will still be held liable. Justice Blackburn in this case made an observation that the person who for his own purpose keeps on his land anything which is likely to do mischief if it escapes, then such person will be answerable for all the damages that is caused due to such escape. He can only excuse himself if he shows proofs that the escape was due to a plaintiff's own fault, the act of God, see plaintiff's consent, the act of third party, and a statutory authority. Essentials of strict liability. A dangerous thing, be escape. See non-natural use of land. Now we will understand the absolute liability. So, the principle of absolute liability introduced after 1 year of the Bhopal gas leak tragedy occurred, and a case similar to that was filed in the Supreme Court of India by MC Mehta in the form of PIL public interest litigation. The landmark case became the foundation of absolute liability in India. The famous case is known as MC Mehta versus UI Union of India. In this case, an advocate practicing in Ts Hazari Court died because of oleum gas which was leaking from the units of Sriram Food and Fertilizer Industries, and many others were falling ill. It was the second time when due to such leakages human life was in bad condition. The court observes that it is the second time just after a year of a massive tragedy. The court observed that if the rule of strict liability is applied to such situations, then those who had established such dangerous industries in and around thickly populated areas can escape from liability by taking any of the exceptions. In the principle of absolute liability, escape is not necessary.